A stranger only sees what he knows. In 2013, I made the move from Colombia to the United States. As one might imagine, the cultural differences were quite obvious. The stark differences in culture between Colombia and the United States provided me with a harsh culture shock when I arrived in the Illinois Valley. Firstly, it must be said that the Colombian culture is very unique, even in South America. I lived up in a region known as Antioquia, and they themselves are very different to the rest of Colombia. The Paisa culture is very friendly, and they have very different views on personal space. Like, it's very common for someone to put your arm on them, give you a hug, even if they don't know you that well. Secondly, they have a mountain of siestas or bank holidays, and a very laid-back culture where they can, they're not afraid to celebrate their history, their culture, and just enjoy life while it lasts. Finally, there's a very strong family culture where every Sunday there's no sports, no non-essential work, and no non-essential activities, so that you can really enjoy your day with your family. Colombia as a whole is still dealing with the modern day consequences of the cocaine cartels of the 90s and even into the 2000s. Most people that I knew had a family relative or a friend that was killed even as a bystander because of the violence. Despite this though, it shows great perseverance of the Colombian people and how they're still happy even if they have no money, they're still seeing violence every day. I think they really take that small bit of things in their life and just make the most out of it. American culture, specifically small town culture, is very different to the Colombian one. In places like this, everyone knows everyone. Your name is passed around, and there's a lot. People are also a lot colder. Not in a rude way, but just the fact that they don't go out and they're not as friendly to you on first sight. There's a little bit of a barrier to get through to the underneath. And finally, there's a lot of different passions. I grew up on soccer and other things like that. And it's not that Americans don't have good passions, but it's just different. It's hard for me to find people that have the same ones as I do. The US as a whole, they don't put as much of a stress on family. It's still important to some people, but other people they step away from it, and there's not that obligation almost that there is in Colombia. Secondly, there's a higher quality of life, which I think tends to make people, no matter where you are, to have a bit more of a tendency to lean towards materialistic things, like saying, I want that house, I want that car, I want that vacation, I want that spouse. Finally, not to say that there aren't violent parts of the United States, but the vast majority of people, I would say, have not experienced violence, and just to see that the almost the level of which people decide that their life isn't worth anything is a lot different to what it is in Colombia. The cultural shock between the Colombia and the United States really made me understand the tendencies of the people of both sides a lot more. Having experienced my life in the UK, in Colombia and in the US has made me really able to dissect certain people's attitudes depending on where they're from.